Welcome to Talking Tea with Auntie, and I'm so excited you're here, where we interview everyday people about everyday lives. And today we are interviewing an American nurse. Now to me, your gay auntie. Hello, my loves. Welcome to Talking Tea with Auntie. I am excited as always to have all of y'all here today. And I have a special three-part series I'll be doing because of the peculiarities of scheduling three such guests. And we're going to be covering nurses. Two of our guests are going to be American nurses, and then one is going to be Canadian nurse. I'm really excited to be doing this series to give this type of appreciation to these type of medical providers. And today we have a wonderful guest by the name of Sarah. I'm very excited to have Sarah today. And if you enjoy this content, you followed me here from TikTok or follow me organically, please feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And at the end, if you want to ask questions of my guests, feel free to become a patron on my Patreon at patreon.com/Shining Nathan for as low as $3 a month. And feel free in the comment section to tell me what other real lives you would like me to interview, because I'm open to interview people from all walks of life. Now, let's bring on Sarah. Well, welcome, Sarah. How are you? I see you just got off your shift.
I did. I actually, okay, you're not going to work there. Here, go. Thank you. Yeah, I actually got off a little late, so I was worried I wasn't going to make it in time.
Oh, no, you're perfect. I am moving like an old person. I pulled something in my legs, so I'm like, okay, well, it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the worst part about going to the gym. You feel so good afterwards until you pull something, and then you're just in pain for 3 days.
Oh, yeah. When you try to work out in your 30s like you're still in your 20s, it's always such a pain.
Yes. I'm about to be 40 next year. So, yes, I fully understand.
Congratulations. Yay. That's exciting.
Yeah. You do really start as you get older to give less of a shit about other things, like what people think and everything. And it's great.
Oh, yeah. I fully agree. And I started it early, so I fully understand you. So, awesome. Sarah, tell me about yourself. You've been a nurse for how long? How did you start out? How'd you get there? How did Sarah become to be?
Oh my goodness. Well, I graduated nursing school in 2006. So it's been a hot minute. I'm originally from New Mexico and started my nursing career over there. I kind of always wanted to be a nurse when I was really young. Like I'm talking like 18 months old. Literally like not even 3 yet. My family, we moved up to Michigan for a little bit because my grandfather had cancer. So the stories go when I was a baby, and there was some video for a while of me helping my grandma carry the pills. It was an empty pill bottle, but I've always wanted to be a nurse, I guess.
Oh, and are any of the family members medical professionals at all, or is this you the start?
I'm the only one. Most of my family didn't. The majority didn't graduate college. My sister did. She started college, then dropped out for a while, and she actually she's 11 years older than me, but she graduated college when I graduated high school because she went back and redid it. But she did accounting.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we were not a lot of medical people, but there was a lot of, I was surrounded by a lot of illness when I was really young. And being a caretaker, my mother ended up having cancer twice, once when I was 15, later when I was 30. So both times I kind of assumed this role within first time within our house, like kept her out of the hospital. She never got any infections or anything, even though her oncologist was not very good and known for his patients all ending up in the hospital with infections or some other thing.
Oh my God.
Then the second time I was a nurse at that point. So it's weird to say, but I basically saved her life. and I don't really like to think of it that way, but she was getting some medical advice that wasn't the greatest, but because I was a nurse and worked with the surgeons I did, they were able to help give me better avenues and help me get her the help she needed sooner. So if it hadn't been for them helping and everything, if we had listened to her nurse practitioner and her doctors at the time, who were kind of diagnosing based on their knowledge and not really looking at her as being like a weird, she'd had weird cancers both times. They would have waited too long and she wouldn't have gotten the care she needed in time. So kind of a weird thing when you're in that profession. It happens sometimes.
And does it still happen every day? Do your friends come to you for medical advice all the time?
Oh yeah. I have a cousin that texts me for my aunt, because she's getting into her 80s now. So she'll text me stuff. A lot of my friends are in nursing, so we kind of bounce ideas off of each other. But the few I have that aren't are like, they'll ask me questions sometimes too.
It's beautiful. Is there a special any specific kind of nursing that you currently specialize? Because I know people specialize in different areas of nursing. Right.
So I was born from nursing school into the operating room, which not a lot of nurses do. But I've always wanted to be in surgery. I've always been fascinated by that. One of the things that's great about working in surgery and working in the OR is you have one patient at a time. You may have 8 patients throughout the day, but you get to focus on one patient at a time and give them everything, as opposed to like on the floor. And it takes a special kind of person to be a floor nurse. I am not that person. I do not have the patience or, to be able to bounce between so many people and not give them like my full undivided attention, because each patient needs to be just as important. And that's hard to do when you're on the floor. Because there's only so many hours in the day, and you got to give medications within a certain time for like 6 to 8 people, depending on where you're at. If you have ratios, some places do not. So those kinds of things make it challenging. I'm not built to do that. I've always liked surgery. I like that we get to focus all of our attention on one person at a time, and it's kind of an immediate thing a lot of times with surgery. Like, you're not juggling medications like on the floor to see if you're going to have an effect. With surgery, you're going to open the person up, find the problem, remove it. They're going to be hurting and everything, yes, but a lot of times you can remove the problem and then they'll start to feel better. So that's kind of what I like about it.
Oh, and so what is your longest surgery you've ever had to perform? Or do y'all do shifts? Like, okay, tap in, tap out.
we do shifts, but a lot of times with surgery, you have on-call. So I've always been, like we talked about in the messages, I've always been a night owl. So I tend to work later in the evening. A lot of times we take the overnight calls. And then our day colleagues will take like the weekend calls, that kind of thing, where I worked before. I'm in management now, so I'm always on call. Anytime my staff needs me, like I have a secondary phone that I have next to me right now in case they need me while we're talking. But so the longest surgery I did, 11, 12 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, usually those are big ones. There are some that go longer than that, depending on the complexity, how many physicians are involved. And that was back when I worked in New Mexico. I came over to Houston and became a manager. So some of our surgeries now, depending on how many specialties are involved, can be 20 hours. Yeah. But there are shifts. So the nurses get tapped out. They don't have to stay the entire time, which is helpful because it helps with the fatigue, because that's a long day. The longest call shift I ever did was 23 hours, I think.
Oh my God.
I was a brand new year's nurse. I was young and I only did it once. I was still in my orientation period, and the nurse I was working with did that, and I was shadowing her. And I said, "You can do that. I will not be. I will take more calls if it means I don't have to do that." It was rough.
It sounds like it. I don't know if I could ever stand on my feet for that long a period of time. And leaning on that, what does an OR nurse do as a hobby? Tell me about your hobbies that you enjoy and get joy out of.
Oh gosh, I'm a introverted nerd. So movies, TV, reading. I like to I do a little writing. I like to create things. Crafting is something that like is my stress relief. So I dabble. I see things. I'm like, oh, I think I can make that. May not look as good as theirs the first time, but that's what you practice and you get better. But I like to do that kind of stuff. Homebody. Got my fur kiddos running around. See my girl in the back there. That's my oldest right now.
Oh, how old is she?
She is going to be 16.
Oh, the baby.
Yeah, she's this is her cuddle time, so she's looking a little irritated with me because I don't have the chair in the proper position for her right now.
I fully understand. My daughter is 11, my kitty cat, and she's like, why aren't you on the couch like you're supposed to be so I can be over you like we're supposed to be?
Absolutely. She's glaring down, giving me the stink eye right now because yes, I'm supposed to be relaxed so she can be relaxed and comfortable. Blanket laid out for her, whole 9 yards.
Well, at 16, of course, she's like, what, 80 in cat years, so.
Yes, she is a crotchety old lady, and she gets her way, and she has since she was 5 weeks old when I got her, so. She knows no other life. It's not fair of me to expect her to think otherwise.
Oh no, 100% same. My cat's only known me her whole life. Occasionally she deals with the corporal cuddles and the I just want to mess with you stuff. But for the most part, she's either has to be in the same room with me. And on the TMI, I never thought in my life before getting a cat that I would never really go to the bathroom alone again.
Yes, that is correct. Well, she doesn't like her brother cat. And the dogs are a little hyper for her sometimes. So she has her own apartment in my bathroom that she goes to when I'm at work or, overnight so her brother can't harass her. And so as soon as I go in there every morning, there she is. Like it's almost like it's a crime if I try to go to the bathroom by myself. And if she's not in there, the brother cat is like right there. It's literally a crime to try to go to the bathroom in this house alone.
Oh yeah, no, I fully feel it. Mine has to be in there when I'm showering, whatever other business. She is waiting for me to be done.
Absolutely. Well, I had my oldest boy that I lost. He was my baby. Who's a Shih Tzu. Same thing. Like he could not be bothered. Shih Tzus are basically mostly cat. Could not be bothered with anything, but he had a bed in the bathroom because he had to go in the bathroom whenever I took a shower or did anything because that was his spot, and he had to guard me. And I'm like, what are you gonna do? You're deaf. You won't even hear them. But
you don't even know anybody else is in this house.
Yes, but I went in. How dare you? Don't you dare close the door. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. So a nurse all the way from New Mexico with baby cats and a dog. What brought you to Houston of all places? I know we're not that far, but Texas is a big state to get through to get to Houston.
The thing with New Mexico, and another reason I went into nursing is because I don't know how much you know about New Mexico, but it's a relatively poor state. Mm-hmm. It is very hard to get out of New Mexico. A lot of us jokingly that grew up there call it the land of entrapment because it's so hard to get out. They have good scholarships for residential kids to get through college, which is helpful. But as far as getting careers there, it's hard to get a job once you're out of school and then having the money to leave to go get those careers. There's not a lot to do other than medical. It's like medical call centers. It's a big retirement area where I'm from. So there's just not a lot. So I was a charge nurse. I was pretty much a charge nurse almost from the beginning of my nursing career in one capacity or another. And I wanted to one of my former bosses wanted to put me into like a manager role, and I had slipped from OR into a side role that wasn't really, they were trying to develop a breast center at the time. They have since done that, but at the time I was going through multiple directors. I was a department of one. They didn't know what they were doing with it. They dumped it on me, who'd only worked at OR. I didn't know what I was doing either, but we were doing the best we could. And so my former director was getting ready to leave. He was going to promote the manager to director of the outpatient area. And so he's like, you should go for manager. You could do that. And I never thought I could. But he said that, and I was like, well, he's right. Why can't I? And then a surgeon let me know that he liked me where I was, and he was going to not support me going into that role. And doctors are still good old boys type situation in a lot of places. So it's like, okay, well, let's see if I could be a manager somewhere else. And I ended up getting a job offer over here, and I decided to accept it. And I've been here since like 2015.
Oh my God. Wonderful. Yeah. Think what year? I think I was still living in Houston at that time when you moved there.
Yeah. Well, what's nice about nursing is it does give you opportunity, especially when you're from an area that there's not a lot of money and there's not a lot of jobs. It does give you that opportunity, because before nursing, I was, working restaurants. I worked at like a Wendy's, a Golden Corral, a local Chinese restaurant. Like that was your opportunity. And getting in the door there was hard because there's so many people trying for those jobs. And it's challenging, especially when you're a kid straight out of high school that doesn't have any work experience. There's plenty of people that do and are more suited for the role than you are.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to retail. Like retail's super hard to get into over there unless you know somebody. Like it's just a hard thing, and there's not a lot of jobs to go around. So I went with what would help me to better myself and give me opportunity, and it worked.
Clearly, I'm so happy it did, because I have a friend who was here after a divorce. He said screw it, because he was in nursing, and then I think he's working on his doctorate in nursing, which I did not know you could do. But I'm so naive in certain aspects of like tiers of things when it comes to doctor, nurse, RN, LV, and things like that. And now he's a travel nurse living in LA.
Oh, travel nursing's good right now since COVID. A lot of people are traveling right now. We lost a handful of people recently to go travel up in like Massachusetts and up north, because it's good money right now, and they're young. Most of them aren't married, so it's a great time for them to take advantage of it.
Oh yeah. And how have things changed for you? Because you're in an OR setting, so not necessarily on the floor, wherever. How have things changed for you since COVID did the thing?
Oh, COVID did the thing. That's for sure.
It did the thing, and that's an understatement.
Yeah, it did the thing. It's still hard to get supplies. Mm-hmm. We're still dealing with back orders on things. A good friend of mine works in our central supply area that supplies us our stuff to do our cases and things. So she's always like telling me about all the back order struggles, and just we're having to switch out from things we normally use because that one's not available now. This is the substitute. And it's just, we have to be really flexible, and sometimes getting a surgeon to be flexible is a challenge. He likes what he likes.
I think that's true of any professional at that level. I know it was the same with attorneys, and and doctors tend to be similar mindsets.
Absolutely. We have a couple of doctors that are married to attorneys, so that's always you get to see it as they communicate with each other in the rooms on the phone. It's yeah, you get to see it. So yeah, that's a struggle. During COVID, it was because everyone was, especially at the beginning, everyone was so scared. Keeping people calm, even in medical, because we didn't know what all was going on, because no one could, the answers changed every day. And we were getting the same information everyone else was getting in the public. It was like, there wasn't like, oh, we knew something ahead of time. So that was challenging. That was very stressful. For surgery, we went on hold unless it was like absolute emergency, because supplies needed to be like surgical supplies were going to be used on COVID patients.
Yeah.
So our staff got to experience some of the floor a little bit, because we had to go help them. So that was challenging for them, and just trying to keep morale up and everything was a constant. And there's not a lot you can do, because, we like to eat. So potlucks are always a thing that had to stop for COVID.
Oh, no.
Like, all the stuff that keeps us going. It's like, okay, we can't do that because of COVID. Okay. No pizza parties, no birthday cake for the month, none of that. That was the big morale booster for us. But yeah, it's just been a lot of trying to catch up. And then after everything opened back up again, it was trying to catch up on the procedures we still needed to do, because people still needed surgeries.
Yeah.
We still had to do emergencies. Then when it's like, okay, do we have enough supplies that we can start doing, like, we don't want to make cancer patients wait. Like, we need to get that out of them. So it was just, we're still playing catch up for all the elective stuff that got to be put on hold. So we're pretty busy. Which is a good problem to have in any field, because it keeps you able to have staff and keeps food on their plates and gas in their tanks and all of that. So it's a good problem to have.
And have there been any good changes that have happened since COVID? I mean, because I know many industries have changed, some for the worse, some for the better. What about for you? Were there any good changes that happened for the medical industry as a whole, if I may ask?
Well, for me personally, I like the introduction of more Zoom meetings, as opposed to them expecting you to come in early in the morning after working a late night shift. So Zoom meetings are great for me. Usually we use Teams or whatever, but yeah, that's a great thing for me. Like, virtual meetings, wonderful. I think it was a good way to show us just how resilient we are. And remind us, because everyone gets complacent. Everyone gets stuck in their routines and knows what they're expecting. Just that we can be flexible, and yeah, it's uncomfortable, but we can get through it. So there was a lot with that. Good that came out of that, I think. It just, working evenings, it's a little different than working during the day, because like with any kind of shift work, you'd staff down throughout the day, because you don't expect a lot to come through at night or in the evening. So it's always a closer knit team, which is another thing I like about evenings, because you have to have each other's back, because you're all you got. Yeah. And so it does make a more cohesive, close-knit team. And so I think we saw that more everywhere, not just in the smaller shifts. Just because we had to rely on each other for a lot of things and make things work and just support each other, because it was a lot. It was a lot.
I can only imagine, and my heart goes out to you for that time, because watching everything in my little apartment back then, I was living in Austin for a little millisecond, and just watching everything, just being like, oh, well, okay.
Every day was new.
Yeah, it was really surreal. I remember I drove one day and I was like, there's no cars anywhere. This is strange.
I do miss the COVID traffic. I do.
Especially being in Houston.
Yeah, as you know, Houston traffic. And it's rodeo, and last week was spring break.
Oh, no.
I hated life last week. Because it was rodeo and spring break traffic.
And rodeo is so close to the medical center too.
Yep. Yes, it is. It was, oh God, every day there was a accident by
Oh,
Minute Maid, and it was just, it was bad. I was so ready for spring break to be over.
I
Then you've
was
got
there
the
for the.
zoo and the museums all right there.
Oh yeah, and so people are trying to find parking, and because what we would do when I lived in Houston to go to the rodeo is we would park. This was right. I think Uber had just become a thing, kind of, or hadn't yet. We would park in the Montrose or the Museum District, walk down to the train, and take the train down to Minute Maid. But that walk, even though we were on foot, it was just like people knew the same thing we were doing. I was like,
Yeah,
thank God I do not have to work down here.
yeah. Oh, they like to park in the parking garages too at the Med Center. So it's sometimes trying to find parking is a challenge. Like my parking is in an assigned area that you have to go up through. You have to go through like a arm thing to get in. But like for my staff, oh, they were struggling because a lot of them parked like down by NRG because there's staff parking down that way, and there were some struggles. None of us were happy none of us are ever happy rodeo spring break week.
Oh no, I
Rest
would.
of rodeo we can be okay, but that week no.
Everybody's here, young, old, everybody wants to be at the rodeo, and they're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
going to Galveston, staying and doing the things. No, I
Yeah.
remember that. And so what do you do working these big hour shifts? What do y'all do to keep y'all's pep up? What brings y'all the joy for what with work?
Well, coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee's very important. My staff jokes about me because I always have coffee in my hand. A lot of them know my order. They're like,
Long-
have you had your coffee yet? Okay, we're going down. um, Potlucks, food, always a good to keep your spirits up. Sometimes I'll order Tiff's treats or something like that and have delivered, or Voodoo Donuts here now, so do that.
I know.
They really like that.
Which is your favorite voodoo donut?
Oh gosh, I there's so many good ones. The Voodoo Doll's pretty good, but it's so much.
I know. There's this place in Austin, near Austin, where they give a donut that's this big.
Oh my God.
It is amazing. I think it's up near. It's north of Austin. I forget the town, not Georgetown, something like that. But it is. It is amazing. I knew I saw God.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I wouldn't want to share it either. That would be bad. I'd be like, no, it's too good. Look at it. It's as big as my face. I want it.
And you're in Houston. Houston has some of the best food next to San Antonio. I think San Antonio and Houston have the best food in the state, in my personal opinion, but I'm biased.
I understand. The struggle for me though with coming from New Mexico and southern New Mexico, not northern New Mexico, it's different. The Mexican food.
Really?
It's so different.
We
so
have
different. Yeah, Tex-Mex. I'm sure it's fine if you didn't grow up on the other, but I grew up on the other, and then my best friend was Hispanic, so of course I grew up on authentic. So it's like it's hard to beat. It's really hard to beat, and it's hard to not be disappointed sometimes.
You have
really
to go.
want this.
You have to go up north off North 45, and what's the other cross street? I forget the cross street, not Shepherd, but 45 north of downtown, on the east side of 45, not the Heights. There are the places that are Mexico. Because when my friend took me there, I was like, I've never eaten, because I'm Tejano. So we don't eat we eat Tex-Mex. But eating that, I was like, this is good. This is so good.
It's good. It's so good. It is so good. That was the one thing that was hard when I moved. I missed the mountains, and I missed the Mexican food I grew up on. Those were the hardest things to shift. It was nice to have green though, because we don't have green over there. It's all desert. So, but yeah, those were the hard things.
I know. I've been through I've been throughout the major chunks, like going up to Colorado from Texas. You go up to Amarillo, and then Lubbock or whatever, and then you go into what's the town? Raton, and then up into Colorado. But I went from California back, but I stopped at the Grand Canyon, so it took me through northwest New Mexico, where I was like, this is beautiful, but it's 90 miles between towns.
Yes. And some of them look like literal ghost towns. Like you're like, that's a gas station. Is it real?
Is it real?
Or it's just like an antique. Does it work?
Am I going to die?
Am I going to die out here? Yes.
It's very much like there are parts in West Texas. Like once you get out, because in order to go to Colorado, you don't take 10. You take some backcountry roads till you hit Lubbock and then Amarillo. There are towns there where I'm like, am I going to die? Like, because especially coming back, because that stretch is 10 hours. Once you get out of Texas, it's 5 hours to get to Denver. And whenever I wind up coming back, by the time I'm at that point where it's just 2-lane country roads and that's it, it's dark. And I'm like,
there's always construction.
There's always construction. There's one point that turns into a 1-lane, period. And so I'm there at 3 a.m, just like pitch dark. There's no side, whatever, no pullover. It's just one road. And you're like, I'm stopped. If anything wants to eat me right now, I'm dead.
Yes, and you don't know what's going to come out of the dark and eat you.
Yeah, and those bushes, for some dang reason, are tall as fuck next to it.
Yes. Yeah, I've driven up from southern New Mexico up into, my best friend had moved to Nebraska, so I went up to see her a couple of times and drove up that way. And yeah, it's the same on that side of New Mexico. It's just like these 2-lane roads. You're passing these little towns, like, yeah, does anyone live here? Or is this just leftover from when it was like Oregon Trail days? Like, what is going on?
100. And then you see one random person outside. I'm like, how are you still here?
Yes, absolutely. And then you get into that one part that it's like 1 lane and it's backed up, and you're just like, how does this work? It's 1 lane. Like, is there someone up there that's gonna, like, what is going on?
I fully feel you. It's very interesting. I loved it. Honestly, New Mexico was stunning. Because I've been through both sides. Beautiful, stunning. And some friends are telling me to move there to escape Texas currently, though I'm currently thinking about Detroit for some reason.
Oh, Detroit's got the snow, though.
I know. And I've always wanted to live in a place that has actual seasons, not just, tomorrow it's 80, but the day after is going to be 33. So take your allergy meds because the tree is going to be traffic.
Yeah, that was fun. I discovered after I moved here I have grass allergy, which in New Mexico I never would have known because we have xeriscaping, so there's rocks. So I was like, why am I getting migraines all the time? Oh, I'm allergic to grass and air. And everything.
And you're in Houston, and the mold.
And the mold, and the everything. I'm allergic to life. But yeah, that's great. That's
Welcome
wonderful.
to Texas.
Yes. Actually, New Mexico, at least in the southern part, I don't know so much about northern New Mexico, but we have very bad allergies because of all the dust and the dirt and everything that's in it.
Yeah.
So I actually didn't get sick when I moved here. Everyone's like, oh, you're going to get sick, because everyone gets sick when they move to Houston. Like within the first 3 months, you're going to get so sick because of allergies. And I said, I don't think I am. And I didn't. I started getting migraines, but I didn't have to take out of work for a week because I couldn't function, because my body's like, oh, more? Okay, whatever.
This is a new thing, but we're used to it. I get like that when I go into Colorado, but evidently Denver's the best city for allergens in the country to not have allergy problems. The problem for me is I'm so used to living in Texas, in Houston, San Antonio, and Corpus Christi, that I am used to having my atmosphere provide my moisture.
Yes.
So in Denver,
that will not happen if you choose New Mexico. Lotion is your best friend, and you can never put on enough.
I learned that in Denver, and I've learned that in Salt Lake City.
Oh yes, Absolutely. The air is not going to help you with any moisture. It's going to suck it out of you and you look like a mummy at the end of the day. But, lotion is your friend.
It still is mine anyway, because I'm trying to preserve. And so I guess a question that is involved with your transition between New Mexico and Texas is, have there been any stark differences both in like culture or people's mindset, both as coworkers and as patients, if you actually get to interact with the patients?
I do get to interact with patients. Patients are kind of, especially with surgery, surgery's scary. So the patients kind of aren't that different. What I found strange, and because New Mexico is very different, we don't do this there. And I'm told it's Southern hospitality, but it just for me came like nosiness. Like, oh, did you move here with your husband? Oh, who all came with you? Why did you come? Like immediate back. And I'm like, I've been here a day. Like, hi, my name's Sarah. What's yours? that was a lot. That was a lot to get through. And like, oh, it's just Southern hospitality. I'm like, it's nosy and a little for me. It's like a little rude. Like, we don't do that back home. Like, people mind their business a lot of the time. Like, you do the smile and the wave, but you don't get in each other's business. Like, where Breaking Bad was made, like we don't ask questions.
Southern hospitality is very nosy. I'm not even gonna lie. It really is a big part of the culture, even though I think Texas is the end of the South and it's South light in my mind, because I've traveled through the South and I'm like, oh, this is the South. This is the South.
It gets southier.
Oh, it does. I took a road trip to Savannah, Georgia. And I got called a slur within 30 minutes of being in Louisiana, which tickled me pink, because I just stared at him, made eye contact, and he was like, oh, I kept eye contact with him. Didn't do anything, just kept eye contact. He was like, and drove off in his big ass truck. And he was clearly a hillbilly, which is fine. My brother's a hillbilly. But I was just like, come on, I'm 5'4", and I enjoy, I may not win, but I enjoy the process of doing it. Like,
I may go down, but I'm gonna go down swinging, and
of course.
You're gonna know I was there.
Yeah, but the South was really interesting. Like, you knew you were in Mississippi without the sun.
Yeah, right.
Have you been afforded to travel much? I know, because you work so heavily.
I've done not as much traveling as I would like. I took my first trip in several years that wasn't going to New Mexico at Thanksgiving. I went and saw some family in Traverse City, Michigan. Beautiful. So that was exciting. It was different. It was new.
Uh-huh.
I hadn't been there since I was like, after my grandmother died when I was like 14. So it was definitely it was nice to go back and see it as an adult versus, teenager with your family in tow. So I've been to Ireland. That was the only time I left the country, and it was amazing. So I've traveled through a few of the states. I went to Boston for a conference. I've been to Nebraska. I've been to Vegas a lot, especially in New Mexico, because the flights used to be real cheap. It was like an hour and a half flight. So I was like, yeah, no, I can go to Vegas again. That's fine. 3-day limit, but just because after 3 days in Vegas, it's just tiring.
Oh, yeah. And it's drier than anything else.
It's so hot.
It is. I like being warm, but that was a different kind of heat. I have old coworkers like, you should move to Vegas. I'm like, I'm not that Mexican, okay?
There's so much asphalt, and it just sucks up all the heat, so it's coming at you from above and below, just radiating.
Exactly. I mean, I feel that way sometimes in Houston whenever I live there, but not as bad, because it's still, it's wet. So why do we bother showering?
What I I found since moving from a dry climate to a wetter, hot climate is the air conditioner works faster in the wetter climate.
Mm-hmm.
Like in New Mexico, you get 115 day, and it's going to take your air conditioner a hot minute, and you're sitting there trying not to melt into your car seat. It's not even leather. It's not even leather. It's just cloth, and you're just like, this is so freaking hot. You don't want to touch your steering wheel. But I did notice that when I first moved here. I'm like, wow, the car gets colder faster. That's really nice.
That is a saving grace. And honestly, I do love Houston. It has a big old piece of my heart. I have so many friends there. But yeah, that was one of the things. Jogging outside, I was like, okay, well, I'm already wet, and I've walked out of the car.
Yes, I do like that I work later, because I'm not out in the sun that much.
Yeah.
And it's just, even when I get home, sometimes I was working 3 to 11 for a long time, and I just recently changed to leave a little earlier. I go in a little earlier, but it's worth it. Oh my God, getting home at 11 o'clock and it's still like 90 degrees outside, and walk out and it's an oven. It's like I'm sweating and it's dark out. What's going on?
Yep, that's Houston. That is very much
That
Houston.
is Houston. Yeah.
So a segment I have my patrons on Patreon, and I always ask them to ask questions of my guests as a perk for them. And so if anybody watching this would like to ask questions of our next guest, feel free to become a Patreon on my Patreon for as low as $3 a month. But they have some very good questions. Now, of course, you can always decline to answer a question if it's too personal or it's something that you just don't have knowledge on, and that's perfectly fine. Okay? And
Sounds
so
good.
so here you go. I have Shira Levi says, can you tell us any stories about the nicest and or meanest interactions you've had due to your job?
Nicest or meanest. I think some of I can't think of any specifically, but I think some of the nicest interactions you get are, when you get to take care of patients that are getting a surgery or a procedure done that they've needed for a long time, or that's really going to help them. Because they're scared, but there's a gratitude and a trust in you for that. And I think it's just a nice thing. And then sometimes they'll send like a thank you letter to the unit. That's always nice when the unit gets a thank you letter for taking care of, because then it's kind of full circle then. Because when we leave you in the post-op unit, you're still groggy. You're not going to remember you saw us again. You might not even remember our names from when we first talked. And that's fine. Because we've given you drugs and you're drunk, and that's great. And that's what we want for you. We want this to be, a not scary experience for you. And if getting you drunk is how we do that, perfect. But it's nice, when you get that follow-up and get to hear, how they're doing now, or, that everything went well for them. And sometimes you have patients that it's just touch and go during, and you don't know, especially emergency stuff. So it's also nice when you can you see the doctor like, oh, that person we took care of that last week, or how are they doing, and getting, when it's positive and, oh, they made a complete turnaround, they're going home tomorrow, or they went home yesterday, that's always the nice things for us to hear and experience. Meanest, usually it's because the surgeon's in a bad mood and he's just yelling and carrying on. But a lot of the times it's not something you take personally. Mm-hmm. Occasionally they try to make it personal. Those are the real horses' asses. It's in every profession. There's always someone. But for the most part, you can recognize they're yelling at you, but you also see how they're struggling in the case, or how the patient isn't doing as well as you'd all like. And it's a stress release for them, and rather than stress release on you than make a mistake. So it's like, you need to yell at me. That's fine. If that gets that out of you and helps you focus more on what you're doing, perfect. Like, it's not a big deal. And a lot of times they apologize after because they know. Um, it's just like anything when you're struggling at any job with something's just not going right. And every person and every patient is different. Everyone's body is different, even though the bulk is like off a blueprint. Things are different when you get in there, and you don't know until you get in there. And sometimes it's just hard to make something work that you want to work and you need it to work, and it takes longer and it's challenging, and they really want to do a good job for the person. So frustrations happen.
Yeah, 100%. I fully understand. And I love that people send you letters. That makes my day. That's wonderful, because y'all deserve whole gift baskets.
Occasionally, that one patient once had made a scarf for me and sent, and I still have it. And it's the sweetest thing. It was just like a thank you for taking care of me, and I made you this thing. And I thought, oh, that's so nice.
Oh,
I don't wear it because it's Houston and you don't need a scarf.
You don't need it often.
No, but it's nice, and it's just a reminder that you do good.
Yeah, 100%. Ah, that's beautiful. And so we'll move on to the next question. Shay B asks, if you could change one thing about standard nursing practices today based on your personal experiences, what would it be and why?
Like most things, I think in the U.S. with capitalism, it's very money driven, like healthcare in general. I would love to see that change and it become more accessible to more people. And I saw this a lot, especially in New Mexico, because like I said, it's a poor area. And the people there are good people, but they wait for a long time to get help. And by the time they do come, it's like there's nothing, like they're in the OR because this is the lot we're trying to save them basically. And that ends up running up their bills more because then they're in ICU. It all adds up. But healthcare is just so expensive.
Oh yeah.
And it's for all of us. Like I have to have surgery myself in a couple of weeks, and it's just it's so much. It's so expensive. Yeah. And it shouldn't be. It should be something that's a right for everybody, and everyone should be able to get care. Like,
I fully agree. For me, I think there are two things that should never be for profit: education and healthcare. For me,
absolutely.
Because I'd put the analogy this way when it comes to, especially to healthcare, because people always want to hark on like, oh, the expense. I'm like, well, think of it this way. The government already subsidizes a majority of these hospitals because a majority of people, you have to use the ER as their primary care. Yeah. And they go in for that, put it like a car. What is cheaper? Getting your oil change every so often, i.e. preventative care, going to checkups, or having to get a whole new engine replaced, i.e. an emergency surgery done, which is cheaper. Yeah. And multiply that by millions, which is actually cheaper. So I fully wholeheartedly agree with you, because I think putting capitalism in healthcare really hinders the care part.
It really does.
It always has.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. And it's even hospitals, they lose so much money on that, because then you get into what's called black debt, because you have patients that just can't get out of the hospital now because they were so sick when they got in. They're stuck in ICUs for upwards of 20 plus days. And so after so long, insurance stops paying. I learned all of this when I worked in New Mexico. Because another fun thing about that is because they were for-profit hospitals. And the for-profit hospitals, you run lean. So I didn't realize I was doing manager tasks as a charge nurse and also taking care of a patient, being my own secretary, doing everything. You just did it. You didn't know anything else. You just did it. You didn't realize it was unsafe about it or anything like that, because it needed to get done. And everyone took care of each other. So, you had each other's back. ICU director, and you would be texting like, hey, how can we get this person in? But when you run into that black debt after so long, the patient being there, insurance is no longer paying for them, essentially. And that's when the government does have to step in and kind of subsidize all of that. But that stuff doesn't need to be that expensive. It is because we've allowed it to be. We've allowed insurance companies to turn things down, and we've allowed companies to charge whatever they want for this medications. Big
and to subcontract everything randomly.
Yeah. Like, so we've allowed that to happen. It doesn't have to be like that, but it is now. And it's a mess. It's a mess. And that would be one thing I would change, is making healthcare universal for everyone, because everyone deserves to feel well. And capitalism would work so much better then, because people would not be out sick.
Exactly. People would not be out sick. People would not be sick, not be tired from it, be healthy, and healthy people who are able to be healthy are happier and can do more just by the nature of not being sick.
Yeah, exactly. Not being in pain. They're able to actually do things they need to do to do their jobs. But that's not how we look at things. We just look at the bottom line. It's like, look at the big picture. Broaden your horizons a little bit. I think things would be better.
I fully agree. And I fully agree. And so I guess we will go on to the next question. It is CL Snips 01. I'm sorry if I said the screen name wrong. Says, how do you manage your own mental health? What methods do you use to not bring the burdens of work home with you?
Therapy.
Beautiful.
I have a counselor that I talk to when I need to, which took a long time to get to that point, because like a lot of people, you don't want to admit you need help. Making time to do the things, like I said, crafting is my release. So making the time to do those things. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Because sometimes you get home and you just want to look at YouTube or TikTok and sit in your chair for an hour and not do anything while your cat just claims you as her personal bedding. And that's all you can do, because it's just been an exhausting shift. So from the management side, what I do now is a lot of emotional labor for my staff, supporting them, supporting my surgeons, just trying to keep everyone sane and happy while they're at work so they can keep going. So that is a lot of that's kind of stressful, kind of tiring. So I think doing those kinds of things is just important. Talking to people, just being okay with mental health, and not letting it be stigmatized for yourself anymore either, which is sometimes easier said than done. It took me a couple of years,
especially for our generation.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, we talked about it, but we never did anything about it. Our mental health sucks. Fix it.
We saw people jump out of 2 different towers on national television.
Yes, we did.
We did.
And that was probably the faster way for them, and I understand why they did it.
Oh, 100%. My mindset, I probably would have been one of them, because at least it would have been the one time I get to fly.
Exactly. And there's a control in that too. You get to choose, as opposed to someone taking that choice from you. So yeah, 100%. I get why they did it. And it's like, do I want to end up taking a couple of days, or do I want to go quick? I think I'll fly.
Yep.
And never really understanding the terror those people were in. It definitely developed all of our dark senses of humor.
Oh, 100%. That and the movies from the time. I think it was Ghost Ship, Final Destination.
Oh yes, I love Ghost Ship.
Oh, I haven't watched. Okay, I watched it again after having watched it first time years ago as like a teenager. And I was like, this really fucked me up a little bit. That first beginning scene from Ghost Ship.
Yeah, that was the theme, the start of the movie.
It was I was like, and then of course I was like, my biggest fear, and this is going to be a weird one, considering TMI, I'm gay, is impalement. My biggest fear is, and so that really, I think, set it off. It's not impalement, but it's like, what if? And and there was the hook scenes part of it, but that really skyrocketed for me. So like if I'm walking down the street, I see those houses with like those little short spiked metal fences. I no, I'm out. No.
Yeah, that was what was that other movie that came out? It had all oh god, I'm drawing a blank. All the girls and they ended up all killing themselves at the end. They were all sisters.
Oh,
but one of them, the first one, it had Kirsten Dunst in it.
Not The Descent, was it? No.
No, it's not The Descent. It's not actually it's a drama, but it's not really a horror. But the first girl, the first sister that did it, she like jumped out the window onto one of those fences. Oh god, I like this movie too.
Oh my god.
God, I'm drawing a blank on it. Like I can see the like cover of the disc like in my head.
If y'all in the audience can know the answer, feel free to comment it below.
Yeah. No, that was a. Gosh, now I'm gonna have to look it up. This is what's nice about having two phones because I can't do this. I can multitask. It's cool.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Believe I can't remember that name. I can see it in my head. I want to say Girl Interrupted, but it's not Girl Interrupted. That was
I think we're getting closer. Hold on. Trying to find it. Please hold.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
Hold on.
I can't believe I don't remember that. The Virgin Suicides.
That's it. I couldn't find it. That's it.
Yeah. But I remember at the beginning of that, she jumped out the window onto like one of those fences. It's like, ow.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies from that time. I think it was because they were just starting to test getting gory, starting to test the limits of gore and gore porn, I guess is what it was at that time. So I guess the next question, let's see. Hold on. Okay, there we go. What was the biggest challenge you had when working towards your license, and what advice would you give to a person thinking of going into this career? And this is from Auntie Kinky.
Ooh, I like that username.
She's my favorite.
The last semester of nursing school, I tried to quit.
Oh no!
To the very end. And that I ended up working with that professor in the hospital after graduation. But he was so challenging because he didn't really teach. He's just like, okay, you should know by now. And the tests, oh my God. So the fun thing about nursing is when you take a nursing test, they're trying to teach you how to have common sense and how to deduce. So there's multiple right answers. Which one is the most right?
Mm-hmm.
Of all of these answers, they're all right. Which one is the most right?
Oh
my God. I don't know. No, terrible test taker. High school for me was easy. Like school in general, public school was easy for me. So going into nursing, everything was easy but languages, I should say. And then you have to learn Latin because medical terminology is all in Latin. So learning, yep. So then learning how to study, because I never had to study before. So learning how to study and how it was going to work. I failed my first class in my prereqs because it was anatomy. Anatomy is all Latin.
Oh,
all
yeah.
Latin.
All Latin.
Took that twice. passed it the second time, thank goodness. But I never, part of the reason I failed is because I didn't know how to study. It's an early prereq, and I never had to really like do that before. And how to memorize, and my memory is not the greatest. Like, I have very little retention. So I have to see things repeatedly. Mostly I have to do them. Well, you can't do anything with anatomy until you're dissecting a cat, and I didn't like doing that. So I like cats.
Yeah.
So that was the challenge. The rest of it was fine. Being in the hospital for clinicals and stuff was okay. Because I was used to taking care of people. My older sister's first husband was very sick when I was growing up, and he died when I was like going into middle school. So I was there for all of that because they lived with us a lot because, again, not a lot of jobs. He was a retired MP because he couldn't be an MP anymore when he got sick. And then my sister hadn't gone back to college yet. So it was, I was used to sick people, and I was even used to death. Like I was okay with that side of it. It was the learning how to crack a book and retain the information. That was a challenge because it's a lot of information, and it's all right answers, but which one's the most right?
That is, I love that analogy because there's so many different careers where, yeah, I mean, I'm not at the same level, but when I was in costume design in college, it was kind of the same. How are you going to build this? Okay. There are multiple ways you can build this, but which one is the better way to do this? And there's different variables on which considers better. One's better cost effective. One's better because it lasts longer. One's better because it tears down quicker. So,
which is the most better?
Which is the most better? Oh, I feel that. I feel that deep in my soul. And so we'll move on to Lucas Gray asks a very interesting question, and you can answer this from what you've heard or what you've experienced or heard from other nurses. And if you've worked in multiple states, what were the best states to work in? I'm a travel nurse, so you can also do worst state to work in so I can avoid it.
Well, we worked with a lot of travel nurses in New Mexico, and we had some great ones, and we had some not so great ones. The thing with going to, from my experience with working in like New Mexico, being it's harder to get people in because, like I said, there's not a lot to do unless you like nature. If you like nature, there's plenty to do. You can go hiking. You can drive from one end of the state to the other in 4 hours, which is a bad day in Houston traffic. So that was another thing we used to, besides the humidity, was the traffic. But if you're going to go to those states, and you're coming from a state like Texas, like Houston, because it's a big medical community, we have a lot of, we're privileged. We have a lot of support and help that you're not going to get in these lower income states. So you're going to work a lot harder. Like all of our travel nurses had to take call. A lot of states, and this is what I'd heard from them when they came from other areas that were bigger. Oh, we don't have to take call over there because it's not worth training us that much. So we just come in and work during the day. They don't make us take the call. So that's something to keep in mind if you're not interested in that, is you go to these other states. It's going to be based on how it's structured and how it's set up. Because I know, like, we've had several of our people go travel, and some of them love it because it's giving them new perspective, and some of them don't know what to do with it because it's so much.
Yeah.
And when you're in like medical centers and teaching facilities, a lot of times you're siloed into like your specialty, and you only do your specialty. And like, even where I work now, there's specialties that we do. I know how to do multiple specialties. So we're a 24-hour OR, so when it comes to, we're waiting for the other specialties to come in and take over their case, but the patient can't wait, I can help them get it started because I have that experience, which my nurses that we've trained, they're kind of lost because they haven't. So that's another thing if you're coming from something like that, just keep in mind you're gonna get to expand your horizons and get to see and do so much more. And the people really need it. They really need the care.
And so basically it would be like the smaller states or the more rural states like Montana, Wyoming, things like that.
Yeah. West Virginia is another one. There are certain states that you can go live in and work in medical profession that will write off your student loan debt if you agree to stay there for so many years.
Oh, wow.
They'll help you pay it off because it's so hard to get people there to take care of the populace.
Yeah.
So I know West Virginia is one, like if you're an NP, because you're able to have a physician and to an extent, physicians, they'll help pay off their debt just because they need people to come in and take care of the people. And it's so hard to keep people there because it's not a lot of money and it's not a lot to do. It's not a lot to keep you there. So that's one way they do it.
That's fascinating because I know they do the same thing with teachers, kind of. If you go teach in a very under-income school for like 5-6 years, they'll forgive a massive chunk of your debt, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So, okay, and hopefully Lucas Gray, you heard that. So you have a little kind of layout.
Yeah.
And so we have 3 more questions. This next one's a little fun. This is from Kimberly Lakin, and she asks, favorite brand of scrubs and ink pens? And how do you deal with compassion fatigue? So it's a twofer. But favorite scrubs and ink pens?
I am not a big fashionista scrub person. So I like ones that breathe. I don't really have a favorite brand, but I like ones that breathe and that are not. They make some that are super, like, designed to be stylish and super tight, and no thank you. I've known nurses that have split pants because, especially in the OR, you don't realize how up down you are. Sometimes you're crawling on the floor for things or to move pedals or I need something that's going to move with me and not split.
Yeah.
So I like things that are, I'm a comfort person. I am a 100%. Comfort person. I mean, otherwise, like, even on the weekends, I'm like, muumuus, yes. Jeans, nothing. No, thank you. I'm not fashionable.
I don't even wear jeans anymore. So
no. Oh my God, no.
With how my weight balloons and shrinks, jeans are just so impractical, and I hate tight things.
Yes, no, it's not. You don't want anything to dig. And you want to eat good. Like when you go out and have fun, you want to eat. You don't want to be like, oh, now I'm bloated where I wasn't. These fit nice earlier, and now like they're digging into my waistband. No, thank you.
Yeah. I used to have sit down, stand up and look cute shirts, or sit down and eat shirts, and they are not the same type of shirts. Now I'm like, you know what? Everything's kind of flowy. I show just the right amount of skin, and there you go. Because I'm 5'4", and I gain and lose weight like Oprah. So it is.
I too am 5'4" and understand what you're saying, 100%. And it's especially like when you work in the hospital in general. I know OR for sure, but like the hospital, you don't always have time to eat. Yeah. So when you eat, you just eat what's there, and you eat as much as you can because that's going to fuel you. And you work 12-hour shifts, or however. Well, for the most part, everyone works 12s. There's some 10s in my unit, and like I'm on 8s, and that's how. Because 8s is not really 8s when you're a manager, you sometimes are there 10, 12, 15, depending on what's going on. Because I don't like to leave my staff if there's something going on. So you don't always get to eat. Like I didn't eat dinner tonight, but then one of the staff was working late in the room. He was ordering pizza, so we ordered pizza for everyone that was there. So I ate some of that on my way out because I was like, okay, I'm not going to have time to eat when I get home and be on time for this. So I want to do this. So, okay, pizza. Great. I'll eat this pizza. I wasn't planning to eat pizza today, but that's what's available to me. And that's was what I was told when I was being trained my first week in the OR. Yeah, you're gonna eat food. You're just gonna eat because you don't know when your next meal is gonna be sometimes. So you might not have anyone that can give you a break right now, or they can give you a bathroom break, but they can't give you a food break. And there is a difference in the length of breaks. Sometimes you just need that 30 minutes or that 20 minutes to like sit, not even eat, just sit. So yeah.
Comfy scrubs 100% and ink pens.
Comfy scrubs 100%. I like the Sharpie fine point. I like the way they write. There's also some good ones that a staff member has given me. I can't remember the brand, but it's like a 0.5 tip. Those write really nice. A fine point is good because then by the end of the day, if you're writing out a bunch of stuff, which a lot of our stuff is on the computer now, which is nice. But if you're having to sign your name a lot, it starts to get like, tired and smearing. So those fine points are nice. You don't want a thick point and you're just like, I can't even read that. Is that a signature or did a toddler try to write their name? Compassion fatigue. Mm-hmm. That one's hard.
Yeah.
That one is hard.
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, mother.
It's just, especially with COVID, it was hard. It was a lot, and a lot of nurses left nursing because of it. And I can understand it. Some days I want to, because it's a lot and it's all the time. Like I said, it's a lot of emotional labor. And then when you're not being, like for me as a manager, being there for my staff, you're also there for the patients or their families. I could walk out of my OR heading home and a family member sees me and sees that I'm in scrubs and I'm in a hat and I came from the area they know their family is, and they're going to stop me. And of course, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and try to get them the information they need because I've been the family member. I know what that's like, and it's nerve-wracking. So you want to try to do what you can, and it's hard to remember to put yourself first sometimes when you need to. So it's a lot. I guess when the therapy comes in, and that's good, and the outlets, you have to have something that you enjoy that's not nursing. You have to have something that's not related to your job that you can do. Like this last weekend, I went to the Oddities and Curiosity Expo that was here. And it was so fun. It was so fun. There was a lot of people. Oh my gosh, there's so many people. But it was so fun. It was different. It was not anything like what I do. So that was exciting for me. But you have to have that stuff. Otherwise you'll go crazy.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. So anybody watching who wondering about compassion fatigue, do things outside of what you do.
A dark sense of humor also comes with the territory.
Honestly, that is 100% fair. Especially, it helps you cope.
Yeah. We make jokes about things that about ourselves too. Not necessarily about our patients, but we joke about ourselves too. Like a lot of times, I don't know if it was a New Mexico thing or not, but a lot of times it's like I'm gonna blow my brains out, and that was a joke. Yeah, none of us were actually gonna do it. It was just one of the nurses they started going like, "Oh, just kill me right now, just stab me in the eye." Like it's just you make jokes about weird things, and it's like, is that funny to an outsider? Probably not, but it's hysterical to us in the moment.
Oh yeah, I fully understand you. I get dark humor, and my friends don't sometimes, because I'll tell them, I'm like, my mom. I saw her sitting in her bed, and this was after her waking me up at 6 a.m. because she was trying to bamboozle me to get her out of the hospital, because she does that. And I'm like, you're literally here for an everyday catheterization, mother. You'll be out in 2 days. And she called me, and I get there, and she's asleep, and I'm like, I just want to get the pillow. Just
It's okay. Yeah, we call that pillow therapy. It's like if we ever get to this point where this thing happens in our health, pillow therapy. My kitty is my firstborn daughter. And so it's her birthright. So you bring the pillow, you bring the kitty, you put the pillow, you put the kitty. It's her birthright. She gets to end me. That's a joke.
But she gets to be part of it.
She gets to be a part of it, and she likes a pillow, so it'll be fun.
Exactly. So she thinks she's just laying on mama.
Yeah, exactly. She'd do it anyway. She's walked on my face before. She did it last night. Anyway.
I'm so glad you get it.
Absolutely.
Tomboy Jock asks, working pre, during, and post pandemic, and the changes, like when environments, hospital, all of that. What were the changes you experienced pre, during, and post, I guess, that you saw?
Cleaning processes definitely changed, especially as we were trying to figure out what killed it and what didn't.
Yeah.
So sometimes that would change day to day. It's like, what are we diluting with? How long do we let the room sit? Because we have positive pressure rooms, so doors close, air exchanges help clean the room. Cool. So it's like, how long do we let that happen? How long do we let this stuff sit? How strong does it have to be? Does it have to be bleach? How much bleach are we locking in Sarah's office because it keeps growing legs and disappearing because they couldn't get it at stores? My office became a storage shed. Like I was like, I can't get any fatter because if I do, I'm not going to fit. I'm going to be able to leave, or I'm not going to be able to get in. Like it's
a wall.
Lose some weight or something. It was bad because masks, things were disappearing at first because again, everyone was scared and they were trying to protect themselves and their families. And we got it, but we also had to protect our patients. And we were having a lot of patients. And we had to protect ourselves because if we didn't protect ourselves, we couldn't take care of our patients. So my office was one of the only ones on the unit, it still is, that's limited badge access. So it became the storage room. But still my office. I still worked in there as best I could. But yeah, it was, and then someone had to make sure no one was going in and out and taking things because the door was open or whatever. So it was still my office. Just getting people to be more flexible, like with supplies, and just being more flexible in general, and learning on the fly. There was just a lot of changes there. And then now that it's kind of settled, I think the biggest change I've seen is how people they still freak out with change, of course, because change is scary, but it's a little less, because it's like, well, it can't be as bad as that, because that was a change every hour sometimes.
Yeah.
Like we start the shift with certain protocols, but by the end of the shift, they were different. So it was a lot of being on email and keeping up with things, jumping on phone calls to see what the latest information is, how we were adapting our process and everything. So going with the change is a little better now. People continue to ask good questions and bring about good points, which I think was also a great thing, is because we had to think on our feet. We had to come up with solutions to things, because sometimes there wasn't a solution yet, but we needed one. So getting people involved and kind of talking ideas out and stuff and getting them to share them. It's still not great, but it's a lot better than it was. And people are finding their voice, because sometimes that's hard, especially when you've got like newer nurses. One of the things I've seen that I think they could have done better on is, I think for a lot of nursing school at the time, they pulled them out of the clinical setting, and I think they should have kept them in it.
Okay.
Because now their first job is like their first real clinical experience, and that's scary. For them, it's because it's like brand new. They're like still students, but they've got a job and they've got responsibilities, and it's like it's harder for them to catch on. They are, but it's just taking them more time, and I don't think it's fair to them. And plus, I mean, now they're nurses, and if another pandemic happens, they don't get to go home and wait it out. Like, we all have to be there. And so if they didn't want to, I think that would have been a good way to be like, well, I don't want to be involved in this. I'm not going to pursue nursing. I know this is not for me. because that was just the greatest way of seeing, are you cut out for this or not? And yeah, it was a lot, but I think they would have gotten a lot out of that experience and still been kept as safe as the rest of us were. I think the biggest thing I saw that I think I'm really disappointed was how it was handled politically on both parties, and how it was politicized when it should have been a public health event. It should not have been a political talking point. And I think that created a lot of what we continue to see today with the mistrust and the misinformation and all of that. And it's sad. It's sad because people are dying unnecessarily.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it should, and I understood when everything was going down and everything was changing. So I understood as an individual, because I mean, I'm not humble about the fact that I'm a very smart person, but because I've worked hard to get out of my small South Texas town to learn, read, do all that. But I knew the CDC is still trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. How is this thing doing it? How's it spreading? So of course things are going to change a lot over time as they find out what is it and how is it interacting. How is it interacting 1 week from you having it? How does it work 1 month, 2 months, and how does it affect different people? And so I knew, I was like, okay, so this is going to change. And then everything started smelling like cheap tequila, and I had flashbacks of memories I didn't know still stayed in my head. But I mean, I think a lot of people did not realize that kind of process that happens, and I think also part of the politicization made that so negatively worse. Because I think people, if they hadn't been politicized, people are like, okay, we're gonna be at home, we're all gonna get fat and drunk, and wait. I mean, I was perfectly happy. I learned how to make margaritas out of wine every day, and I was happy as a clam being at home with my cat. And so
I was jealous of everyone that got to be at home.
I know, and I can't, because I had friends that were our nurses, and I was like, they would text me like, "Oh my God," I'm like, "Oh my God," like, "Oh my God," I'm like, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah, that would have. I think you're right. I think people would have been a lot better with it if certain political people hadn't been like, "Oh no, this is bad." And they were worried about their bottom line more than they were worried about the people, and that's what's sad, and that's what's discouraging.
Think if it just been the CDC saying, "Hey guys, go stay home." Period.
Just chill. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but gonna do 2016 now, unfortunately.
I know.
Yeah. But I think that was kind of, and how that's changed has been the thing I've seen that's the worst. Because before that, it was, healthcare wasn't perfect by any means. It never has been. But there was a level of trust in that we were doing our best. And I think that some of that went away. Not that we didn't continue to do our best. But I think some of that like trust, and it went away, and it became very, very aggressive when it didn't need to be.
Yeah.
And that part kind of makes me sad, but overall, I think there was a lot of good things that did happen with it, for positive change. Not enough.
No,
but
and I can feel it. Because it does not feel like the same like it was before. Thankfully, in a way. I mean, we're still technically in it, but it does not feel like the same before, which I'm not mad at.
No.
And I think good things did happen. We learned a lot about each other, both good and bad. We have only 2 more questions. One's from a patron, and then one is a fun one from me.
Okay.
So this is from Macy Budke. As someone going into healthcare administration, what is something management needs to do or understand to help support their nurses, especially now, post-pandemic?
I think the biggest thing, and we try to do this a lot in our unit, is be understanding of like work-life balance, and try to make it fun, try to make it we call ourselves a dysfunctional family, and that's not the best terminology to use in the workplace anymore, but it kind of is. Like we try to take care of each other. I always described it back with my OR when I first started. It's like, yeah, we may fight with each other like siblings, but no one else gets to. So like another unit says something, we're gonna fight. I don't care if I like her normally or not. I'm gonna fight you. Don't you say anything about her. She's like my sister. Like, no, we're not doing that. But just try to keep it to where it's understanding. It's not a lot about like pushing for. We all have numbers and quotas that we try to do. Like for OR, it's like turning over a room, because the faster you turn over the room, the more cases you get in a day, those kinds of things. And efficiency, but we try not to make it a sweatshop where we're beating them down and we try to keep it understanding. And I think that's the biggest thing, where people get caught up in the numbers and get caught up in the like, I don't want to say outcomes, because outcomes for us are also people. But taking too much of the people out of it, not just our patient, like we leave our patients in there, but like the people that are taking care of them, we need to remember they're people, and they have struggles too. And being compassionate and being understanding and just working with them to try to make it a place that's not horrible. Because we're even working 312s, they're there 3 days a week. They pick up call shifts, they pick up weekend shifts. Sometimes, like, I've got nurses that call their kids to tell them good night because they're not there to tuck them in. So they have to try to take a moment to FaceTime them to tell them good night. That kind of stuff, just giving them that, not making it all about profits and numbers and that kind of stuff. I think that's the biggest thing.
And I love that, honestly. And so, Macy, listen.
Yeah, definitely make it about the people.
100%, because it is. And I guess the fun question I have to end the night is, if you are working and suddenly the zombie apocalypse starts happening, would you stay working or would you get out? This is an entirely metaphorical question.
Oh my gosh, zombie apocalypse. I don't know. I got a lot of weapons in the OR to defend myself. Anything can be a weapon in there. The hospital's gonna have food. It's gonna have electricity, at least longer than most places.
So you'd keep working?
I don't know. At least I don't know. That's a good one, because I'm also that helicopter pet parent. Like, I'm that helicopter mom. Like, like, oh my God, they're gonna eat my dogs. I have to go.
I know. I feel you 100%, because I get like that on road trips. I'm like, I miss my cat. I'm going home now.
Yes. Absolutely. I watched one of your other with the woman who does the trucking. I watched that video, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. And when you said that, I was like, yeah, no, I've done that. I used to have to, or when I would travel a lot more when I lived in New Mexico and people were closer that pet sat for me. And I traveled a lot more. Yeah, I would be like, okay, every day we have to have a video call. I need to see all of my children. I need picture updates throughout the day. What are they doing? How much do they hate you? And want me back? How much? And the woman who used to pet sit all the time, like, my cats tormented her. Oh, they tormented her. And I was just like, yes, because they love mommy.
Yeah.
They love their mommy.
Mine, she doesn't care who's feeding her as long as she's being fed, but she is mad that I'm not the one feeding her. And everybody who feeds her, they always send me a video. Here she is. Here's Honor. And Honor's like, man. Of course you can hear her from the first door to enter my apartment, because there's a downstairs door and then my front door. And you can hear her already just screaming and yelling. But when I get home, she's like, Dad, wait. You know what? No, you've been gone.
Yes.
No, And she'll walk away for like an hour, and then she'll come back. Okay, Dad, I missed you so much. I missed you so much. Man, Dad. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So this last trip, the first trip I took in forever, I was gone for 5 days, and I was just like, it was a little bit of torture. It was a pet sitter, and she was great. She would update me, but it wasn't pictures. But I have cameras all throughout my house to spy on them, so I was okay. But my old girl, she's just like, you were gone. Okay. You were gone a long time, so I love you. But now I'm going to go wolf down half a bowl of food and vomit it immediately because you should be punished, and you shall be.
Oh yeah, no, mine does the worst part and I cannot leave the bag that I traveled without, because she'd be like, I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna go over here now. And she proceeds to shit and pee in that bag. So I know now, I learned very quickly, never leave the bag open when I get home. Take everything out of it and put it in the laundry, and close the bag and put it in the closet. Or lock the room that it's in. I close the door.
Well, that's a good way to get you to unpack, because I'm terrible at unpacking right away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, she was just like, and now I'm going to vomit everywhere.
That's a
right
fair
response. Everywhere. I deserved it. I was a horrible person.
I've been gone for 5 days, which to you is probably like a month. So I get it, 100%.
Yes. And the boy was just, the boy. His name is Freddie Mercury. His name is Mercury, but he's named after Freddie Mercury because I'm a huge Queen fan. And the child, he is something. So he was fine, but he likes to shit outside his box, like to remind me, just to remind me. So I'm like, that's great, son. I got him that expensive one that rotates every time he goes in there. Nope, he doesn't care.
Yeah, no. Occasionally my girl would be like, I'm going to shit in the hamper. I'm like, she doesn't do it often. And I'm like, I know it's not because you're getting old, because the hamper is taller for you to get into. Hi, baby. It's taller for you to get into than it is your little box. Oh, hi. She's like, I'm ready. It's time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's screaming at me right now. Like, why are you on the phone? What are you doing?
So, on that note, for her, are there any parting words you want to say to anybody out there, to the universe?
No, I'm so excited I got to do this. I'm a huge fan of your content.
Thank you.
Some of those days where I need that mind numbing, or I'll turn on your videos and they're always so uplifting, or even when it's something terrible's happened in our country, which is so often now. They're always so comforting, and I appreciate that. And I wanted this opportunity to thank you for doing what you do, because it is important. It does help with the mental health a lot.
I'm so good.
I love the video where the guy was like, "Oh no, I can pick him up," and then you fell on the floor.
Oh yeah,
that was a good one. I watch that one kind of whenever I need a laugh. I'm like,
that one. I slipped a little because I jumped from the top of my couch down, and I slipped on the way on the little. I was just gonna do a little, but the slip made me go, and I was like, oh, we're 35. We're gonna be 35. Oh, like it took the wind out of me. So whenever you see me kind of struggling and turn my hip to do the position, I am literally like, oh god, that's gonna be sore. And my friends, I text my friends, is like, I think I gave myself a concussion and popped my hip out doing a TikTok. They're like, Nathan, I was like, I know it's on brand. I know it is, but damn.
yeah. Oh god, yeah. I'm the queen of. Okay, so it was 2 a.m. Oh God, what did you almost fall off and break your neck this time doing? Like once it was a ladder painting my bedroom.
Oh no.
Once it was another ladder outside when I was drunk hanging Christmas lights off a gazebo. It's a lot of ladders because I'm also 5'4" and you just can't reach much. So
and we believe we can still do it.
Absolutely, we can.
Yeah. If we have to crash on the kitchen counter, we're gonna do it.
Absolutely. And we're fun size. We have fun.
Yeah. I'm going to be tipsy while I do it, but I'm doing it.
That's the fun.
Oh, well, my
Well,
love.
thank you for this opportunity. I really, I was excited about it all weekend. And even today, I was just like, there's more things I need to do. Nope, I have something to do. I may be late, but I am leaving. I'm going to go do it.
I'm so appreciative of you doing this. Thank you so much, Sarah. It really meant the world.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. It was nice chatting with you.
It was nice chatting with you, and you get in that changed and on that blanket so that baby can slay on you.
Yeah, she's pretty much demanding it right now.
Okay, my love. Well, I love you, and you take care, sweetie.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, darling. Sweet dreams.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was Sarah. I want to thank each and every one of you for being a part of this journey. It was a fantastic interview, and I'm very privileged to have had the opportunity to interview such a person who gives so much to our community. I hope you learned a lot about a different walk of life and nursing in general. And if you have any recommendations for other topics, feel free to comment them below and listen. And if you want to be a part of this episode, feel free to email me at yourgayauntie, AUNTIE, @gmail.com. As always, a big shout out to every single one of my patrons on Patreon who provide my income and make this possible. But a special shout out to my patrons who ask questions of our guests, because they ask some of the most brilliant ones that I could never have thought of, like Sherry Levi, Shay B, CL Snip 01, Auntie Kinky, Lucas Gray, Kimberly Lakin, Tomboy Jock, and Macy Budke. Thank you all. And if you want to support your gay auntie or support Talking Tea with Auntie and Storytime with Shining Nathan, feel free to go to patreon.com/Shining Nathan for as low as $3 a month. And if you can't, that's fine. Share this video, comment below, like it, do all the things that we know we got to do. As always, I love every single one of you, and I'm truly blessed you all watch this show. So feel free, watch or listen to this show, depending where you're at. So feel free to stay tuned. I will have another episode on nursing real soon, and then I'll have another one on nurses in Canada. I love y'all, and y'all take care.